Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com, and we're here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we're here with the guy who's just been sort of named as the new CEO and president, Greg Harris. Thanks for taking time to talk, Greg.
Thomas, my pleasure. I'm thrilled to be here and honored to be entrusted with this place. Look at it. Isn't this fantastic?
It really is. It's an amazing treasure for the region. And you've been here for a few years as development director. Talk about some of the challenges that you faced raising money for this place. It's been a tough economy.
Every not-for-profit has its challenges, and contributor revenue is a big part of it. The thing is, for us, we've got this art form, and when you connect people with their passion and their understanding how important we are to the Cleveland community for economic development, the donations follow if that's done right. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard work. It's relationships. It's one person at a time. It's treating people right. And it's also asking them to be involved and invest in what we do.
You know, you've done that right. Terry Stewart's done that right. You're filling some pretty big shoes. He's brought a lot of stability here. He's brought the inductions here every 3 years. The library and archives have opened up. How do you see yourself building on some of these real successes that he's had?
Yeah, Terry's done an incredible job. Fantastic job, and he's actually leaving it in a good shape for others to come in. The team that did it all, the staff, we're all still here. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to do it as well as we ever have. Then we're going to take it up to the next level. And part of the job as a CEO is to kind of look and see what we're doing, where we might want to focus our energies a little bit differently, and maybe try some things based on the changes in the economy, based on the changes in the world, based on the changes in our art form. And we're just going to have to come together as a team, come up with these sort of things, and then push it out there. I'm confident we're going to do a great job.
Give us an idea of something that you might push into a slightly different direction, knowing some opportunities that you know, knowing some things about the fundraising or about the, just the people that want to come to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Sure. Well, that's an open question, because right now we're doing a lot of good things well, and it's a matter of taking them up another notch. It's not a matter of reinventing the wheel or doing something different. But, one of my goals would be for when people leave the museum. They love our museums right now. They love the exhibits. But to leave here with goosebumps. I mean, to leave here, when they go home, they tell their friends it was the greatest experience in the world. And I think we do that, but I want to make sure we do it with everybody.
That's great. You were a record store owner in Philly, and so I'm sure you're opinionated about music, as most record store owners are. Why don't you, if you don't mind, show us around maybe one or two exhibits that you like here at the Rock Hall personally?
Oh, I would love to do that. Let's go downstairs and check out some... I'm going to start with some older stuff and then get to some stuff that's kind of newer, and let's go.
Let's have some fun. Okay, we're down here in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in one of the first galleries, which is called the Roots of Rock and Roll. Greg, what do you got for us here?
All right. This case here has three of the icons. If you look behind me, there's Muddy Waters, there's Howlin' Wolf, and there's Elmore James. Three incredible, incredible guitar players, all from Yazoo, Mississippi, all of them coming right in the hotbed where Robert Johnson played, lived, died, spent his life. But these three guys all go to Chicago. They all start mixing in, drums and other things, and they take this kind of country Delta blues and they make it rock and roll. And Muddy Waters there, that's where the Rolling Stones got their name, from Muddy Waters. Keith Richards says that in their first couple years, all they wanted to do was sound as good as Muddy Waters. So this stuff here is really it. Look at that Elmore James guitar. It's like it just came out of the ocean.
The one down at the bottom here, it's all beat up and faded.
It's beat up and faded. You like to think that's the guitar that they recorded Sky is Crying. That was one of his great hits. And I'm going to take you to another guitar from somebody that's a much newer person, but just keep that one in mind. There's a lot of similarities.
Sounds great. Thanks, Greg. Let's hit number 2 here.
All right.
We are now in the Cities and Sounds exhibit, where you go city by city and find out what great music was happening. This is the Blank Generation, which is London, New York, Los Angeles. What do you got for us here? I think I see which one you're talking about, Greg.
Oh, yeah. This is my stuff. This is the stuff that came through the radio waves, or that we heard in contrast to our 70s radio, and it just changed our world. So I've got Joe Strummer's guitar, this iconic Fender guitar that Joe used for almost his entire career. When he bought it, it was a beautiful sunburst. He immediately painted it with auto body primer, and he used it in the 101ers and then through the Clash. But look at that thing. When you see it, you can just hear, I Fought the Law, and you can hear sort of that whole howl of his. And what I love about Joe Strummer is, in addition to sort of he started as more of a pub rock, roots rock guy, did the Clash, which was considered punk rock, but then came back and really got more into Woody Guthrie and things like that influenced him when he was younger. And he's just a great figure in that whole mix. He's become one that Springsteen now plays Joe Strummer songs in concert.
And more reggae, and they really get into the roots reggae thing?
You're absolutely right. Just a great, great hybrid and just a wonderful personality. But that guitar, to me, it really says a lot.
It says Trash City on there, and that's what he did. He trashed a beautiful guitar, but that speaks a lot to what the Clash were doing.
Absolutely, and that he played the same guitar pretty much his whole career.
You got one more for us?
Yeah, let's go up and see our Grateful Dead exhibits here just for a few more months, and I want to kind of show you one thing up there.
Sure thing. Thanks, Greg. We are now at the top of the pyramid, the 5th floor of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we're here at the Grateful Dead A Long Strange Trip exhibition. Greg, what do you got for us here?
All right. Well, first of all, this exhibit is a slam dunk. If you're a Dead fan, get down here. It's set to close at the end of this year, but we're probably going to extend it a little bit longer. But don't miss it. Get over here. I'm in here because in the 80s and 90s, the Dead took their ticketing system in-house, and they did it all themselves. You would call into this voice answering machine, this phone machine, hear a tape that would tell you the shows and where to mail your envelopes, and then fans would take envelopes, design them, send them with their money order, their cash, their check, and they'd send it to the Grateful Dead offices. We have some samples over here, and I love this because we sent these tickets in the 80s. We sent in these envelopes. I didn't decorate them this way, but this was how you got tickets if you wanted to go see the Grateful Dead. You didn't go wait in line or camp out. You mailed them into the Dead ticket office, and they sent them right back. Pretty smart business move because they kept all the handling fees, and they handled all the fulfillment, and ostensibly they tried to keep them out of the hands of scalpers.
Not only scalpers, but it was when the corporations were starting to move in too, right? And they were starting to take a bigger and bigger piece of like the handling fees and stuff.
Absolutely. The Dead was really a self-contained business unit. They brought their own sound system. They did their own ticketing stuff. They were kind of innovators. And they're also looked at today for letting people tape their shows, free content, because it would boost ticket sales and also boost attendance, kind of like what some bands are doing on the internet with YouTube right now.
You think these days are kind of gone because it's really hard for major bands now to get any venues because they're all locked up with these big ticket corporations, so you can't even get a venue if you want.
On the local scene, what hasn't changed, I think, and what the Dead kind of embodied was the do-it-yourself thing. I think smaller bands are actually doing better because they're keeping revenue from their CD sales, from their downloads, from their shows. The bigger stuff, the Live Nations and those folks, thank God they do so much in Cleveland because that's how bands travel these days and that's what they get around. And so, I think it's a balance, and each side learned a little bit from the Dead.
Talk about these new young bands because you were involved in it with your record store. I know Terry Stewart mentioned the way that you even talk about how artists are eligible for the Rock Hall being 25 years after their first release. Nowadays, those releases are digital. Are you guys thinking about moving to a time when young bands could submit their digital releases just to kind of get a date stamped and say in 25 years, if we're still going at it, we might be eligible?
You nailed it right there. It's when you've released your first song, and so that was easy when it was vinyl. Cassettes were a little different because you could kind of make your own cassettes, and especially some of the hip-hop acts did that in the late 70s and early 80s. Now bands, it's digital, and I do think that we need to look at it. We need to figure out what it means. What's an official release? When is it out there? And we did talk to some of the bigger groups like the Facebooks and people like that if there isn't some way of having a band registry. We don't have any definitive answer on that now, but it's something we're going to have to wrestle with, and it's kind of exciting and fun to think about.
Greg, you got a lot of fun things to think about here. Thanks so much for taking time to talk with us. Congratulations on having probably the coolest job, at least in Cleveland, if not anywhere. And we'll look forward to staying in touch with you as you meet these challenges.
I'm thrilled. I'm honored. And since this is Cool Cleveland, I need to let everybody know that as the new CEO and president of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I believe Cleveland truly does rock.
And you're right, it does. Thanks so much, Greg. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.